The flexibility that it took to be able to rhythmically penetrate your partner from the top like that and also bend over and take care of him genitally is unheard of. He's right. I've never encountered it since. My attitude at the time was, yeah, sure, old man, you keep telling yourself that. But he was right. Hi, this is Mike Balaban. Welcome to another episode of BAMMER Tales. Before we start, let me just ask you, if you haven't already subscribed to this page, please do. We're a small operation and every little bit helps with the algorithm on YouTube. Also, like any of the videos that you especially enjoy, put comments underneath, make some suggestions for topics if you like, and thank you for being part of our audience. Today, I'd like to speak about my first boyfriend or first relationship. It was in 1979. I was 27. And I have to be honest, at the time I didn't consider it boyfriend or relationship. I was kind of resistant throughout the entire process with my friend Jim. He met me at the YMCA gymnasium where I worked out. I was in my first job in New York City and not very happy with it. In fact, I was only a month or so away from leaving. And he picked me up at the gym and invited me out for dinner and pursued me vigorously for the next year and a half. And I was kind of always a little resistant, but always gave in. And of course, it didn't hurt that when he would invite me out to dinner, he'd make sure that I had some wine, so it was nicely lubricated. And then we might smoke some marijuana. And the combination of those two things released my inhibitions. And I was much more pliable and receptive to going back to his home with him and having sex, which was basically what he wanted. No disrespect to him. Most gay men in that era were, in fact, intent upon having sex as much as we could. He lived near me in the same neighborhood, and I would end up back at his place. And I have to say, probably the main reason I stuck it out, well, there were two reasons. One was that he was an older influence. He had a kind of strong personality. And he was very supportive and influential in helping me with advice, with connections. And so that was the first thing. I was young. I was at the time conceptually a bottom, meaning I felt like I needed help. I wanted the strength and power that I associate with somebody who was a top. And he gave me all of that. The second reason, and perhaps the most important, was that the sex was out of this world. And he would later on say to me, you don't realize how rare this is, but someday you'll look back on this and you'll comment. And he's right. That's what I'm doing now. I should note that while I was 27, he was 39, about to turn 40. I wasn't particularly attracted to older guys in general. He wasn't my type. He was a kind of rougher, although good looking, a rougher bearded look. But you know what? He was insistent. I needed advice and support. He was really good sexually, and so this went on for quite a while. Now, in the middle of it, I took a trip across country, which I've detailed in another episode, for 3 months from the end of June till the end of September in that year, 1979. Drove across country, learned how to be gay, came back to New York, and we took up where we left off. And it lasted until the following September of 1980. And the thing that made the sex so special with Jim, number one, he was only a top. And while I was open to being both top and bottom, I didn't mind being a bottom with him. And the second thing is that, and this is graphic and a little hard to describe, but he would put me on my back, lift my legs, calves over his shoulder, and penetrate me from that position, which is not uncommon. But the thing that was exceptional was that while he was in the middle of penetrating me and fucking me, he would be able to lean over and fillet me, lean over and give me a simultaneous blowjob. The flexibility that it took to be able to rhythmically penetrate your partner from the top like that and also bend over and take care of him genitally is unheard of. He's right. I've never encountered it since. My attitude at the time was, yeah, sure, old man, you keep telling yourself that. But he was right. So he not only helped me sexually, but he was a writer for a couple of magazines. He did a weekly column for New York Magazine on all the developing trends, and he did interviews for a men's fashion magazine with celebrities like Richard Gere and Christopher Reeve. And so he would take me to a Broadway restaurant where they knew him, and in one case, they had his name on the lampshade there. The table was dedicated to him. And so I would meet a lot of people in positions of influence on Broadway. Now, I didn't happen to professionally be in that career, so it wasn't useful to me, but it was enough to turn my head. So it lasted a year and a half, and the whole time I was resisting it. It's just because he just wasn't the guy I wanted to be with. But it went on and on. It also wasn't exclusive. He didn't insist that it be. Nobody at that time was exclusive for the most part. So I was able to do other things with other men if I wanted. And in fact, that's what actually led to the end of the relationship with this guy. In the following year, I met a model, and I fell head over heels in love with him. And that will be the basis of another story that I'll tell on here. But I'm still in touch with my first boyfriend. I saw him in New York. I'm 70, and he's got to be 82, 83. I saw him last year. I think he still carries the torch for me. I think he'd still like to get back together. In some way, I guess I used him. I mean, he was useful to me and helpful at a time when I needed the strength and the stability of an older guide. The sex was great, and it enabled me to kind of get a sense of what a relationship was like, although I don't think that I ever treated it like a relationship. We never lived together. We weren't monogamous. We didn't go out regularly. It was once or twice a week we'd get together and go to dinner and have sex, and that was it. But that was my first relationship. I hope you had one that was similar or even better. Thanks for listening. Please let me have your comments. This is Mike Balaban.